What about the kids?
Yeah, it's horrible. God help them.
Hi, my name is Darius and welcome to my channel. Carmela is one of my favorite characters from The Sopranos show, but not only is she one of my favorites from that specific show, I also consider Carmela to be one of the best female characters ever written, because a character like Carmela is a rarity. What The Sopranos does as a show that is pretty exceptional even to this day, it's that the leading female character never loses her value to the story, or like the story never forgets about her, because of the popularity of the leading male character.
Look out! I think Moto likes you.
In a show that consists so much of mafia action, you'd expect watching a character do things like cooking and cleaning and taking care of the family to be pretty boring. But that is not at all the case with Carmela.
What are you, 6 years old?
I said I try to be there.
What is with you, Tony? This whole week, you're like an alien life form among us.
Carmela never becomes less important to the story because of Tony. There are so many stories and shows where the female character gets sidelined by the popularity of the male character. Very rarely do you get the case where the writing quality of a female character is consistently high from the very beginning to the very end. That just does not happen, because one of the many things that make her character so engaging and so fun to watch is how active she is at everything she does. She never feels like a passive support character that exists in the background. She actively contributes to the main story.
Jennifer. Lovely name. Does he have your number, Jennifer?
Let me give it to you just in case.
I lost my pencil. Up his ass.
But Carmela is not just an active character, she is also intelligent and calculated with every decision she makes. But there's more to Carmela's character than just being a very intelligent, active mother/housewife. And in the beginning, I had a very difficult time figuring out her character.
I thought therapy was gonna help clear up the fucking freak show in his head. Why wouldn't he tell me his therapist is a woman unless he's screwing her?
Then he must be a very unhappy man.
He's unhappy. Sleep is my number one. Ah, shit.
I enjoyed watching her on screen. Some of the best moments of the show are with her, but I couldn't exactly figure out what her character was about. One of the reasons that she confused me so much was that there were these character inconsistencies that I just couldn't figure out. One of the biggest examples being how she reacts to Tony's cheating. She already knows that Tony is cheating. She is intelligent enough to know that Tony is cheating. But whenever she's reminded of that fact, she acts baffled and surprised, and you don't really expect that reaction from a character who is that intelligent. I didn't know what those inconsistencies meant and why they existed there and what the show was trying to do with them. Until now, that is.
Carmela, who the fuck did you think I was when you married me, huh? You knew my father. You grew up around Dickie Moltisanti and your Uncle Eddie. Where do you get off acting all surprised and miffed when there were women on the side? You knew the deal.
Deal?
Because now I realize that it's not a character inconsistency. This isn't an intelligent character acting stupid and dumb. This is an intelligent character being in denial.
So, you think I need to define my boundaries more clearly? Keep a certain distance, not internalize my...
What did I just say?
Leave him.
Take only the children, what's left of them, and go.
My priest said I should try and work with him, help him to be a better man.
How's that going?
Now, what does denial mean exactly? Denial means when a person partially or fully forgoes a truth or reality because accepting that truth or reality would lead to undesirable consequences and conclusions for that person. A couple of other terms you can use for what Carmela is doing here is willful ignorance and cognitive dissonance. The interesting thing about Carmela's denial is that she does not pretend that Tony does not cheat at all. She knows it, but she kinda knows it. It's at the back of her mind and she tries to tone it down and speaks about it like it's more of a nuisance to her as opposed to it being something serious that deeply hurts her. Here's another more interesting psychological trick that she does. When it comes to engaging with the reality that Tony is cheating on her, whenever Carmela has the control to engage with the reality, she can control how much she wants to play it down, how casual she wants to present it to herself, to pretend that it doesn't hurt her that much. But whenever reality forces Carmela to recognize it, reminding her that yes, Tony is in fact cheating on her, that's when Carmela is hurt the most. That is what I think is the most interesting. Now, the question that I want to ask myself is, what is at the core root of this self-delusion? What are the core traits deep inside of Carmela that drive her behavior in such a way where she deludes herself into thinking that Tony's cheating does not affect her that much, even though she is obviously deeply hurt by it? I'm going to study Carmela's character through two key components: her guilt and her desires. And these two things are the primary source of conflict for her character. Her guilt primarily comes from the fact that she's religious and has a very strong religious conviction. Where religion for the vast majority of other characters is more of an aesthetics thing, like these people are actual murderers and criminals, and they genuinely think that they are Christian Catholics.
How do you feel about homosexuality?
I find it disgusting. Men kissing men, holding hands in the street. Every fucking TV show now, they rub your nose in it. Well, don't forget, I'm a strict Catholic.
Carmela is the only person who takes her religion seriously. She takes her religion so seriously, in fact, that it drives her to paranoia, to the point that her paranoia makes her believe that she's actually physically ill, that she has cancer. Now, where does her guilt come from? And why is her guilt in conflict with her desires? In fact, what are Carmela's desires? And this is exactly where her religious guilt ties back in with her intelligence.
I have forsaken what is right for what is easy, allowing what I know is evil in my house, allowing my children, oh my God, my sweet children, to be a part of it, because I wanted things for them. I wanted a better life, good schools. I wanted this house, wanted money in my hands, money to buy anything I ever wanted. I'm so ashamed. My husband, I think he has committed horrible acts. I got a bad feeling. It's just a matter of time before God compensates me with outrage for my sins.
She prefers to delude herself and deny reality because it contradicts what she wants, her deep desires. The desire of having a comfortable, wealthy, luxurious lifestyle, live that life with the person who she loves, spend as much money as she wants on herself and her children's future and education, and have a comfortable, stable life with her family. The contradiction is where her religious principles meet her desires, because she knows, and she is intelligent enough to know this, that her lavish, luxurious lifestyle is provided through very inhumane, sinful, criminal acts. Her whole life, her children's lives, is provided through criminal, sinful means, and she is smart enough to know that. In fact, she is so smart that if she decided to not delude herself, she can write a list of every criminal act that Tony could have possibly committed. Her guilt is the consequence of the clash and conflict between her religion and her desires. In fact, her religious guilt gets so severe that she actually thinks that God is about to physically punish her, both in this reality and in the afterlife. Not just her, but her children as well. She thinks that God is actually going to punish her for not making Tony change his ways, or separating her life from Tony's sinful actions. So what is Carmela's answer to this problem? How does she intend to control this conflict within her? Well, even though that her religion in this instance manifests as a form of guilt to try to force her to recognize the reality of her sinful life, she incorporates a different take on her religion.
There's a point inside yourself, and in a boundary beyond which you feel culpable. You've got to come to an awareness of where that line is and forgo those things which lay without it.
Learn to live on the good part. Forego those things that lay without it. I think I can do that, Father.
So as a way of solving this conflict, she incorporates religion in a different way, in a way that numbs her to her reality. One version being the one that tries to wake her up to reality to change course in her life. One that manifests itself as this tremendous feeling of guilt that eats Carmela from the inside, that tries to force Carmela to wake up to reality, being fully aware of how her lavish, comfortable lifestyle is provided through insanely criminal and inhumane means. And the other incorporation, which tries to numb Carmela to that reality, that her life is filled with sin, surrounded by sin, and provided by sin. They should try to separate the good from the bad, embrace the good, and forgo the bad, essentially making it a lot easier for Carmela to be an enabler for Tony's actions. It makes it a lot easier for her to reconcile her desires with her religious beliefs, for that conflict to be somewhat calmed down, not solved, but calmed down. Don't forget, this is a character in denial. She is deluding herself, coping herself into comfort. This way, Carmela can have both the things that she desires and keep her religion.
Had some good times. Had some good years.
Here he goes now with the nostalgia.
Hey, all I'm saying is no marriage is perfect.
Well, having that Kumar on the side helps.
Yeah. Oh, we all got different needs.
What's different between you and me is you're going to hell when you die.
But this is only one of Carmela's two major conflicts. The one that we just talked about is only like halfway through the show, like season 1 to season 3 and 4. Through the second half of the show, we see a different conflict manifest inside of Carmela, one between her desires and her traditional conservative social beliefs. Carmela and the people around her, her friends and family, belong to a very specific kind of subculture, a very conservative subculture.
You know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. It's anti-Italian discrimination.
Carmela, like her environment, is a conservative.
This gay nonsense they're teaching. This stuff is pervading our educational system. Not to mention movies, TV shows. I'm just saying it's ridiculous how everything is being sold as homosexual nowadays.
No offense.
I'm not gay.
You're not?
No.
You're not? No.
No.
Leslie Fiedler has written extensively on gay themes in literature since the early 60s. Billy Budd in particular.
Well, maybe he's gay. You ever thought of that?
One of the values that she believes in and her environment promotes is traditional gender roles, meaning that you have strict, specific responsibility and roles for each gender without ever putting them into question. A man has to provide and a woman has to stay in the kitchen. And at first glance, you may think that Carmela is your run-of-the-mill housewife, taking care of the kids, washing the dishes, that kind of thing, until you start paying attention. Like I said before, one of the many reasons she's so engaging to watch is because of how active she is at playing her role. The interesting thing about Carmela is that despite her role being a traditional housewife and a traditional mother, the way that she engages with her children's education and with the family affairs as a whole is incredibly unorthodox. Carmela is way more than just a normal housewife.
I don't think you understand. I want you to write that letter.
Excuse me?
I said I want you to write the letter.
Are you threatening me?
What threatening?
I want you to imagine and compare any other mafia wife in the entire cast of characters going out their ways to accomplish the things that Carmila did for her family, planning for her children's future and their education, having backup financial plans, paying attention to every small detail. No other character is as active as she is at doing what she does, because to her, her family and her children's lives are like a project, like a business. She's a businesswoman. The only thing is, her business is her family. It's her children.
I'm talking about some simple estate planning, Tony, that's all. Maybe you don't care about our future, Tony, but I do.
It's boring to me, okay?
Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Excuse me?
It's the government, Carm. You gotta be flexible.
You know, I'm not sure, but I think if it was built before 1938, you can apply for a zoning variance. Pre-existing non-conforming structure, I think it's called.
I mean, like, Jesus fucking Christ. She's closer to being an Asian mom who's a successful businesswoman than being just a traditional conservative Italian-American mafia housewife. But she is an active businesswoman treating her normal day-to-day life as a business. Her priority at the time being her children's education, making sure that the family finances are good and they always have a backup plan, and so on and so forth. Every angle you look at it, Carmela is a businesswoman. Her business is her life. It's her family. But this is where the contradiction comes. And her contradiction is better illustrated through another character, Angie Bonpensero. In the beginning of the show, Angie, in comparison to the other mafia wives, had the worst life. Ever since Pussy became an informant for the FBI, he grew more alien and distant towards Angie, treating her like absolute dog shit, especially when she thinks that she's gonna have breast cancer.
I just came from the doctor's office.
Yeah?
The biopsy came back negative.
Yeah, good. I'll be back later.
Her ass was the second coming. I never wore panties. I'd eat her out when I was down there.
She even really exist?
He's a fag. Is that okay, Tony? Did I sit?
You didn't know he was gay?
Actually, I had him pegged the whole time, but
Angie is the only character that decides to make that one hard decision that no other mafia wife would ever dare to make. She decides to trust herself and believe in herself, to separate her path from her husband's and go her own way, to try to be independent. And she struggles in the beginning. In the beginning of the show, Angie is still financially dependent on Tony. Even though that she owns a body shop, it is still difficult for her to make ends meet and be fully financially independent. But after all that hard work, because Angie believed in herself, she is one of the very few cast of characters in the entire show of Sopranos that actually had a good ending, because she did succeed. By believing in herself and committing to herself, she finally ends up being a successful businesswoman. She expands her business, still stays single, and is genuinely a successful independent businesswoman. She owns her own business, makes her own money, and calls her own shots. And Carmela sees that. She notices Angie's success in life, her financial independency, and she is actively jealous of her.
Yeah, we're both grown-ups.
I'd rather go with my own instincts.
Put me down for $2,000 worth of body work and/or paint.
2,000? What an inch.
Is that a Porsche?
Had my eye on it for months. The gift from Tony.
I thought about a Boxster, but I don't know. The vet felt more like me.
You bought that yourself?
The accountant says I'm better off owning it outright.
Sure, Carmela can have whatever she wants, but only as long as Tony's okay with it. And Tony has no problem just not doing what Carmela wants from him.
float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Excuse me?
It's the government, Carm. You gotta be flexible.
So Carmela's second conflict comes from the contradiction between what she wants, what she's capable of, and her conservative social values. Carmela believes in traditional gender roles, but the way she handles her life in practice is in complete contradiction to those same values. She wants financial independency while also clinging onto her beliefs about traditional family structures. She would be a very successful businesswoman, even more successful than Angie, but her belief system stop her from actually going that far. So whenever Carm sees Angie's success, she feels jealous because Angie did take that risk and she did end up succeeding in life. Angie, the complete opposite of Carmela, doesn't have to take shit from Tony. Funny enough, in the beginning of the show, when Angie was considering divorcing Pussy, Carmela was the person who was trying to keep her to stay in her marriage.
I'm finished thinking. Hell, I thought myself into fucking non-existence.
Well, you are not non-existent, and Pussy doesn't see you that way. You know what the church says about divorce.
Oh, please. Let the Pope live with him.
The only reason you have anything is because of my fucking sweat, and you know every step of the way exactly how it works. But you walk around that fucking mansion in your $500 shoes and your diamond rings, and you act like butter wouldn't melt in your mouth.
I want what I am entitled to.
You're entitled to shit.
Oh, Carm, how the tables have turned. Now, I have spent all this time talking about the two major conflicts that Carmela is struggling with. How her first conflict was her religious guilt, and the way that she tried to answer for it was with incorporating a different take on her religion, and her second conflict being that she wants to be financially independent, but that is in conflict with her social beliefs. Now, how does Carmela solve her second conflict? Because in my opinion, this is like the most interesting thing that Carmela does. Because this is the exact moment where the show does something so fucking insane and so batshit crazy that is, in my opinion, the best episode of the entire show of Sopranos. Because that's episode 13 of season 4. Before I get into it, one thing that you must realize is that Carmela's not really solving her issues. Tony has not stopped cheating on her. She is adopting temporary solutions to make it easier for her to cope and exist in her reality. But like I said before, when reality knocks on her door, boy, oh fucking boy. Because this is the episode where all of her conflicts, all of her non-solutions reach a climax. Where Irina calls Tony's house, talks to Carmela over the phone, and tells her straight to her ear,
I used to fuck your husband.
Hello?
You remember my cousin? She was also his mama's caregiver with the one leg. It's just so absurd. Why would I make it up?
This is my personal favorite episode of the show just because of how no bullshit it is.
Carmela! What the fuck are you doing? Fucking shitbag!
Because this one episode has the best performance from both Eddie Falco and James Gandolfini. Other than the narrative satisfaction that comes from seeing these two characters be so honest to each other, sharing their opinions, their brutal, uncensored opinions about each other to each other's faces.
Every morning when he'd come to pick you up, I would look forward to it all night long in bed, next to you. Those nights when you were actually in the bed.
What they have been feeling all this time but refuse to share it, refuse to talk about it.
You know, you asked me the other day what Irene's cousin has that you don't have. And I thought about it because it's a pretty good fucking question. I could converse with her because she had something to say.
I am here! I have things to say!
Besides, bring the fucking chairs down and did you sign the living trust?
Who the fuck wanted it like this? Who the fuck pissed and moaned at just the idea of me with the fucking real estate license?
Free to sit back for 20 fucking years and fiddle with the air conditioning and fucking bitch and complain and fucking bitch to me, to your priest.
The way that James and Eddie look at each other and they just shout and curse. My fucking God, is it that hard to explain why this is my favorite episode? It feels like being a child and you see your parents have the most insane fighting and argument right in front of you. Especially when it comes to Eddie's performance, I love the way that she expresses so much with just her eyes.
What?
Nothing.
Eddie Falco for me performs the best female acting I have ever seen on screen. The way she performs in this one episode, oh my fucking God.
What about the kids?
Yeah, it's horrible. God help them.
Well, Tony, what about the 1,000 other fucking pigs you had your dick in over the years? The strippers, the cocktail waitresses. Were you best friends with all of them too? You fucking hypocrite.
Something this drastic had to happen for Carmela to consider maybe she should divorce Tony. And this time, she's actually serious about it. She is going to divorce Tony and go her own way. And Tony is doing everything he can to make it as legally difficult for her to do so, putting financial pressure on Carmela by just giving her less money. Because Carmela was never financially independent, and Tony is using that to his advantage.
Look at your face. If you got some kind of sexual proclivity with that teacher or whatever, now's the time to tell us. I mean, what went on up there? Poppers and weird sex.
What? No.
You had a couple beers. Couple of beers.
Still, regardless, Carmela tries her best to divorce him, but she can't. And there's actually more than a couple reasons why she does not follow through with the divorce. First thing is that Tony is doing the best he can to make it as legally difficult and almost impossible for Carmela to do so. The second reason is that Carmela is financially dependent on Tony. She can't afford to divorce him. And the third reason is because at the end of the day, regardless of everything that has happened, Carmela and Tony still love each other. It may be very hard to believe, but this is what the show shows us. While editing this video, I came across a very mind-blowing moment in the show. In episode 12 of season 3, Carmela and Meadow visit the Brooklyn Museum, where Carmela is looking at a painting showing the symbolic marriage between St. Catherine and baby Jesus. And just looking at this painting causes Carmela to break down. It's her having a spiritual moment and reflecting on her own life. Meadow jokes about the painting and says,
She's marrying a baby? Good luck. We all do. What? I shouldn't be sarcastic.
Now it's obvious that Carmela is referring to Tony here. But one thing that stood out to me was a beautiful soundtrack that was playing in the background. The name of the song is Sposa son disprezzata, I Am a Scorned Wife, performed by Cecilia Bartoli. The song is very beautiful, sad, and tragic. It's about a wife enduring the pain, shame, and ridicule of her husband cheating on her. But still, despite her husband's betrayal, she still loves him. And yet, he is my heart, my husband, my love, my hope. That shit is fucking gas. So instead of Carmela going Angie's route and putting all her eggs in her own basket, believing in herself and strive to be fully independent, what Carmela does is completely different. Because what she does is settle for a compromise.
You want compromise? How's this?
This is where we see her answer to her second conflict. In order to get back with Tony, Carmela puts forward two conditions. The first one is pretty obvious. Tony has to stop cheating. But the second one is very interesting because her second condition is her answer to her second conflict. Carmela wants Tony to buy a plot of land so she can build a steakhouse on it. She gets to build and manage it with her father, and she gets to keep the money for herself. Now, what does that mean? She is synthesizing the two contradictory aspects of her personality. She is synthesizing her traditional role as a housewife with the financial privileges and position of an independent businesswoman. This allows Carmela to still play the role of a housewife while benefiting from the privileges of an independent businesswoman without actually becoming one. She's trying to have the best of both worlds. She is compromising the one chance she has to break free from that guilt that is eating her from the inside, to live a morally good life. She's throwing all of that away to get back at her life with Tony. And at the end, her solution does not work. Because even though Tony genuinely tries to stay faithful to Carmela, and he actually does try,
Stop. Just stop.
he falls back on his previous habits.
Hi, how'd it go? What's it take to get some fucking smoked turkey in this house, huh? What? I bust my ass all day long. I come home, I want a little smoked turkey. Is that too fucking much to ask? Empty my fucking turkey in here.
And it would be only a matter of time until Carmela figures out that yes, Tony is cheating on her again, and she'd be right back at square one. And she doesn't even solve her religious guilt. She does nothing about it. Her life is still financed by crime. The only difference is it's even worse now, because now her steakhouse is even financed by crime. She literally has a dream of talking to Adriana's ghost at the house she literally built with Tony's blood money. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Even though that her steakhouse project was a success, that does not mean that she has achieved financial independency the same way that Angie has. She has still deluded herself. And if Tony didn't get clipped at the end of the show, she will be right back where she was.
Fact is, you're a shitty businesswoman who built a piece of shit house that's gonna cave in and kill that fucking unborn baby any day. And now you can't sleep.
The lack of financial independency, the religious guilt from knowing how her life was provided through. Instead of going her own way and trying to become independent, trying to set her life apart from Tony, from all that crime and sin, she again decides to delude herself. 10 out of 10 writing. I love this character. It may be hard for you to believe, but I actually rewrote the script of this video, I think about 13 or 14 times. I was struggling with this fucking video, but I'm glad I was able to finish it at the end in a way that met my own expectations and standards. Yeah, I love Carmela's character. I think she's absolutely brilliant. Anyway. Oh god. Oh my back hurts. Oh god, my back hurts.